So I'm here with Dr. Anthony Chaffee, and we're going to answer some carnivore questions. Hi, Anthony.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Could you distill your extensive knowledge into one actionable and valuable tip for individuals embarking on the carnivore diet?
It just depends, because some people, it's hard for people for different reasons. One, they don't really know what to do. Okay, just eat meat, don't eat plants. Pretty easy. Other people are, I want to have variety. I want to have this. Okay, well, there's different recipes that are carnivore that you can dip into. Some people just maybe don't have, or are struggling with the motivation. But, the thing that you should always realize, that no matter how difficult it is to change your diet, which of course it always is, it's a lot easier than dealing with chronic disease, metabolic syndrome, diabetes, autoimmune issues, body weight, and just being sick and unwell all the time. That's the most limiting, restricting thing that there is not being in good health. And so just have that motivation. And if you have the right motivation, you say, okay, I'm just getting rid of this stuff. I'm just going to be as healthy as I can be. You can really get over anything, really.
I'm curious, did you start carnivore all in, or did you gradually get in?
No, it was 100% in. So when my professor told us that how toxic plants were and how they used plant defense chemicals to protect themselves, and they had dozens, if not over 100 carcinogens, and he told us that he didn't eat plants, wouldn't let his kids eat plants, and his words, plants were trying to kill you. I mean, that really hammered that home for me. And so I just went to the grocery store that night and just was trying to find anything without plants. And I just meat and eggs, and that's what I ate for years after that. And then when I came back to this, because I'd slipped off adding in some vegetables and salads, because you're supposed to eat salad, because no one was telling me what I was doing was the right way to do it. Years later, when I came back to it, and I just realized, no, humans just actually are carnivores as a species. That's the kind of animal we are. And back during that 5-year period where I've never felt better in my entire life, that's what I was doing. I was like, right, I knew it. I knew plants were trying to kill me and get rid of these stupid things. And it was just right all into it right away. I just never touched them again.
I also went in 100% overnight from vegan to carnivore.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. And I didn't expect that my oxalate dumping would be that harsh. And who knows if it was actually oxalate dumping or histamine intolerance or just adapting to being fat adapted. But
just being a baby.
But did you have that adaptation phase yourself?
I didn't, actually. I felt amazing just jumping straight into it. I felt better right away. There was just less stuff in my body. And now, the thing is, I didn't come from a vegan background. Right. I came from a heavy meat-based background. I just felt better right away, really, for me. But, a lot of people do have to come through that, and there are withdrawals from sugar and carbohydrates. Sugar is a drug. People say that, you get a dopamine blip from hugs. Okay, so are hugs a drug? Well, some people are addicted to affection, but at the same time, hugs aren't going to kill areas of your brain that are dopaminergic areas of your brain, that like we see in hard drug users like cocaine, heroin, and methamphetamines, kill certain areas of the brain, the reward centers of the brain, because of how much of a dopamine overload that they're giving. And the same amount of destruction to that area of your brain happens when you eat a lot of sugar and fructose. So this kills the same areas of the brain as these hard drugs, and that's been proven on MRI studies. So it is a drug, and so you're going to withdraw from a drug. People that have a lot of caffeine or nicotine, maybe they're coming off of alcohol at the same time. Yeah, you're going to have a bit of a rough couple weeks, but you get through it. It's usually about 2 weeks, and you get to the other side and you just feel great after that.
I hear a lot that the most difficult part of getting into 100% carnivore is quitting the diet pop, or quitting the Coke or the sodas, the things that are very full of sugar. So what do you suggest people trying to get off sugar, but they just can't get over that addiction?
That's a good question. Usually when I talk to people about this, they're already highly motivated. They really want to change their life. They're coming to me for a reason in my medical practice. And I can describe to them exactly how toxic sugar is, how it's an addictive drug. But like any addictive drug, you can get over it. And I always tell people, just keep eating fatty meat until it stops tasting good. That will often reduce those cravings. And if you have a craving, a sugar craving, something like that, just maybe think, maybe that's your brain telling you that it's a little hungry, because your hunger signals are very different. So just treat it like that. And then you have a sugar craving and you just go and eat fatty meat, see if that helps, drink some water. But either way, even if there's still some there, just try to get through it. It's worse in the first several days, first week certainly. And then after that, it starts getting better and better. And after 2 weeks, most people don't miss it as long as they stay away from it. And then they have the artificial sweeteners or something a little mildly sweet, and that gives them those cravings back again. And so I think that describing to people just how bad this stuff is for them and how they really want to get away from it, and going into insulin and all the different hormonal effects of that, and the different metabolic properties that you get into when you get rid of sugar and all these benefits that you get.
Yeah.
Most people are quite highly motivated, and so they can do that. But that's what I tell them: just keep eating fatty meat to suppress the carb cravings, sugar cravings.
Excellent. You all can get a chance to ask your personal carnivore and healing questions to Dr. Anthony Chaffee when you join our next 30-day carnivore challenge. Our monthly guest lineup is always exceptional. We have Dr. Tony Hampton, Dr. Anthony Chaffee, Dr. Robert Kiltz, Coach Rebecca Heichman, and the entire team of SBG coaches that you can learn from throughout the challenge. For more details and to directly sign up, just go to the URL shown on the screen, sbgmeetup.com, and I've also linked a clickable link down below in the description box.
How would you address concerns from those who view an all-meat diet as extreme, unconventional, and contrary to established medical guidelines?
I just point out that, sure, we've been vilifying meat for the last 40, 50 years, but it's completely unwarranted. We've been eating meat as a species for millions of years. We're apex predators, top of the food chain. That's what all the best evidence shows. I was literally taught that in kindergarten. This is not a secret that is being hidden by the Illuminati. This is a fact. We are carnivores, and so we've been eating meat since time immemorial. And so, the idea that it would all of a sudden start causing disease now is a bit asinine. And the idea that, it's crazy to only eat meat. It's animals do it all the time. 70% of animal species are carnivores. They eat predominantly meat. And even herbivores will opportunistically eat smaller animals when they can. Humans have been eating meat for millions of years, at least 2 million years. So, and only meat. If you look at the ice ages, certainly in certain areas, especially if they didn't have access to as much meat as they would want, they might have to go and eat some plants as well. And they knew how to lower the toxic load and increase bioavailability. These are a lot of the techniques that we have from traditional ways of cooking, or I'll roll into that. Fermenting, for instance, is very good for that. But what were people eating during the ice ages? What was there to grow during the ice ages? What are the Inuit eating in the Arctic Circle on snowbanks and ice flows? There's nothing to eat except meat. And so if you can't survive on meat or thrive on meat, you're not going to survive those situations. Those are the harshest environments that have ever existed, in living records. So you're not going to survive unless you're not only surviving but thriving, and we not only thrived, we became the most dominant species that has ever walked the earth. And when people were crossing the land bridge from Asia to North America, from what's now Russia to what's now Alaska, that's in the Arctic Circle, the ice was so high and the sea levels were lower that it had you could just walk across, and it's just ice though. And this is at a time, 1,500 miles up north of Seattle. That was at a time when Seattle was under a 1 mile thick block of ice. So what the hell was up in the Arctic Circle, right? So it was, what is there to eat besides meat? And so you just point this out, that this is what we've been eating forever. This is our biologically appropriate diet, or evolutionarily appropriate diet. And when people say everyone's different. Okay, well, every lion's different. Every koala is a beautiful individual snowflake. But you know what? They all eat the same thing, and they all benefit from eating the same thing. And so food is species specific, not blood type specific or anything else like that.
How would you advise someone interested in the carnivore diet but concerned about social norms, how they're perceived, or the potential impact on social activities with friends and family?
Yeah, well, certainly there's people that are afraid of that happening, but I don't see that really happening unless you draw attention to it and you put yourself on the outside. Right. Because I can go to any restaurant besides a vegan restaurant, I can find something to eat. Even if it's vegetarian, they might have eggs, and so I'll get eggs. And eggs and cottage cheese. If you can do dairy. So there's always options unless you're at a vegan restaurant. And then the option is water. I've gone to vegan restaurants with friends, and I just had the water because I didn't want any of the bean curd or anything else. So it's easy to do. If you draw attention to it, then attention will be drawn to you. Right. If you talk about, I can't. Then of course you're gonna have a magnifying glass put over you, and so people are gonna start examining what you're doing and why you're doing it. When I did this for 5 years in my early 20s, when I wasn't doing carnivore, I just wasn't eating plants, and so we would go to restaurants, we'd go to after match functions, or I'd go to dinner at family and friends, and I would just take what I wanted and eat that, and everyone else took what they wanted. I never once looked at their plate on what they were taking.
Yeah.
They never once looked and commented on my plate and what I was eating. I ate what I ate, they ate what they ate, and no one said anything for 5 years. And then when I came at this, the second time, and I was doing a specific diet, right? Well, then I felt more self-conscious, and I felt like it was a bit weird. And so I met people at restaurants. Still had no problem going to any restaurant, but then I felt weird. I felt like I had to, signpost what I was going to eat and why, and because I didn't want to weird them out. And that's what started to make them curious and say, okay, well, why do you do that? And what about this? And that drew attention to it. Which the other times I just said, okay, I'm just not going to say anything. No, not a problem. So, you're only gonna push yourself, to the outskirts of society by doing it yourself. People eat what the hell they want. No one really cares when it comes down to it. I mean, there's some people out there that seem to just be incensed that some people eat differently than they do. But those just ignore them. Those aren't people you have to deal with on a daily basis. Normal people don't care and are happy for you to do whatever the hell you want.
With the increasing popularity of the carnivore diet on social media, is it a fleeting fad, or does it offer substantial benefits that set it apart?
It's the only one that's actually biologically appropriate for a species. It's the only one that actually makes any biological or evolutionary sense. I mean, evolutionary biologists talk about how the reason that we are humans, the reason that we are as intelligent and tall, have as big brains, and we have the tools and the capabilities that we have are because our ancestors became carnivores. We're not carnivores because we're humans. We're humans because our ancestors went carnivore, and that actually drove our evolution to what it is today. So for the last 8-10 million years, brain capacity, cranial capacity, and height started increasing at a steady rate. Then at about 2.5 million years ago, there's an inflection point, and that coincides with the ice ages when the ice shelf started coming down. A lot of early humans were killed by this, and it was only the ones that were able to figure out how to be apex predators and survive in a hunting style situation in the tundra, in the ice, that were able to survive. The ones that were going more plant-based, they all died out. And so in fact, when those ice shelves were coming down, Homo habilis actually went up into the ice. So they didn't run away towards the equator to go where, the fruits and berries were, like a lot of vegans try to argue. Actually going up into the ice, away from the plants and towards the animals, towards the megafauna. And then you have this inflection point where it's this exponential growth of cranial capacity and height. And then about 10, 15,000 years ago with agriculture, cranial capacity going up exponentially and then straight down. And adult male brain size reduced by 11%. Adult female brain size went down by 17%. And that didn't take hundreds of years or thousands of years. That was overnight in the fossil record. That's pre and post agriculture. You can tell the difference between a pre and post agriculture skull because a very different shaped head, smaller brains, smaller jaws, crooked, crowded teeth. The face is different. The head is different. The brain is different. And that has persisted until today. And you see those same changes with more Stone Age primitive cultures like the Native Americans in the Great Plains and the Native Australians. How can our evolved diet be a fad diet? That's what we're supposed to eat. So I guess it's just a fad that lions are eating gazelle. They'll get over it, No, that's what lions eat. So nutrition is a very simple subject when you understand what the question actually is, which is what is a species of animal supposed to eat. It's very clear. You just look out and you see what lions eat in the wild. What have lions been eating the longest meat? What have humans been eating the longest meat? That's what we're biologically adapted to. You actually don't have to adapt to meat because, like I said, herbivores will actually opportunistically eat smaller animals and benefit from that because there's nothing inherently poisonous in meat. Maybe something has a poison sac or venom or something like that, and smaller animals sometimes have to have that. Otherwise, the meat itself is the most bioavailable and healthy, nutritious stuff out there. So you don't actually have to adapt to eating meat. You can just eat meat, right? You do have to adapt to the poisons in plants.
If you're new to a carnivore lifestyle and you're currently going through symptoms like lower energy, headaches, and muscle cramping, these could all be signs of an electrolyte imbalance. And to quickly fix it, you can just simply salt all of your meals a little bit more generously. And if that doesn't resolve your issues, it could be very helpful to lean on a high-quality electrolyte supplement. The one that I consistently recommend is from this brand called Element, spelled out LMNT, and specifically this teal blue colored box labeled raw unflavored, because it doesn't have any stevia or extra flavorings. It's literally just the 3 electrolytes our body needs: sodium, potassium, and magnesium. This is what each of the little packets look like. Super easy to just throw in your work bag, gym bag, take it on the go. You just rip it open, pour it in whatever beverage you're drinking, mix it up, drink it down, and you're good to go. You all can get a free sample pack like this, and it does include the raw unflavored with any purchase. If you go to the URL shown on the screen, drinklmnt.com/SPGAL. Also link them down below.
And so we've only had about 10,000 years to start adapting to these things. And we have a bit of defenses still left over from our herbivorous past. But it's like 2 million years of really eating very little amounts of vegetation. And especially during the ice ages, especially in the northern climates, it makes sense that it's less optimal to eat plants because they have toxins. They're not as bioavailable. They trap their nutrients in ways that we can't access. They make it less bioavailable for us to eat other food. They have anti-nutrients and things that block out nutrition, things that are directly toxic, all these things to defend the plant. And so if you're not adapted to eating a specific plant, that plant is bad for you to varying degrees. Some won't kill you, but like people eat avocado and think grapes are great, but they'll kill cats and dogs. And so obviously there are toxins in avocados and grapes. It's just that we can contend with them more easily than a dog and a cat could. But even then, there's varying degrees. And we were talking about oxalates. If a fruit is tree ripened, it will have less toxins in it. It'll still have toxins, but it'll have less toxins. So an avocado, tree ripened avocado, will have about 50 milligrams of oxalates in it. But if it's picked green, it has over 200. Right? So it's 4 times the amount of oxalates. And there's going to be a number of other toxins as well. Because when it's not ripe, when it's green, it's the seed's not ready. So the plant does not want anything to mess with that. So it's rock hard, it doesn't taste good, it has a lot more toxins. If you pick that green and allow that to ripen in a box, and good luck getting an avocado that wasn't ripened in a box from a grocery store, it's probably not even ripe when you get it, they stay in there. So the tree or the plant or the vine has to actually pull out and extract those toxins. You pick them ripe and eat them ripe.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have access to 5 pieces of fruit every single day year round, even when you live in the tundra. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any biological sense. Have fruit all year long because you have to have fruit.
Yeah.
The only people telling you that are people selling you fruit. It's just like, it's that simple.
Right.
But also the people selling you junk food, because the big processed food companies know that if you get people more plant-based, they don't stay whole food plant-based for long. They go to junk food. They get the processed crap. And so they're the ones pushing a lot of this. And because it makes them a lot of money, because it's a plant-based industry, the processed food industry.
I just wanted to add to your question. I don't think carnivore is a fad diet or a passing trend, because it's a diet that works.
Yeah.
It worked for me. And I did vegan, I did standard American, I did standard Chinese, everything in moderation, different types of healthy eating. That didn't work either. And when I did carnivore, and specifically high fat carnivore, it finally worked. And like, I don't work out and I get to have 0 bloat. I get to have regular painless periods. And you said the last time you worked out was?
Before my big Europe trip, so it would have been like 6 weeks before that.
Yeah. And we just maintain our strength, our health, our good mood. So I just wanted to say that it's a diet that works. So it's always going to be there for people who need to heal.
Yeah, and that's the thing, it keeps coming back. I mean, this is something that we've known about for thousands of years, that meat is very important for health. And this shows up in all sorts of medical textbooks for, back to Galen and Hippocrates and in Egypt, ancient Egypt. And so, and then more recently you've had, the aristocracy and the wealthier classes could afford meat, and they were always a lot more healthy. This is why it was fatty food was called rich food. That wasn't, now it's sort of used as as a pejorative. It was like, oh, that's very rich. I don't want it. Back then it was, ooh, that's rich food. That's what rich people eat. It's good. That was a positive thing. Now it's a negative. But it is a positive. It is. And then Dr. Salisbury in the 1800s sort of revamped this and found that people were getting these diseases of civilization or diseases of the West because the more primitive civilizations, whatever the hell that means, were not getting these diseases. And then anthropologists talk about this transition from the health effects that you see in these primitive populations, where they're dealing with injury and infectious disease, issues with childbirth and infant mortality, that sort of thing. And then when they transition into a more civilized sort of society, basically eating, agricultural-based food, that they transition from having those be the main factors. And they actually would live nearly as long or longer in some cases if they weren't killed by something. They didn't die from the chronic diseases. They actually lived quite a long time. And so when they started to transition into eating, what we would consider a more normal, balanced diet, that's when they started getting diseases of civilization that became the more predominant factors that affected their health. And so, it's pretty straightforward. Salisbury saw this, and he was curing people with a pure red meat and water diet. It actually was very successful. It was very popular. A lot of people did this, and they found that they could reverse a lot of problems with it. There were books written about similar sorts of things all throughout the 20th century. And the most recent one of that era was by Dr. Walter Vogelin, who was a gastroenterologist and wrote a book called The Stone Age Diet in 1975, I think. And he talks about how humans are carnivores. Here's the evidence for that. And, and this is how this affects our health. And these problems basically go away if you just stop eating plants. And then they said, cholesterol causes heart disease. It's definitive. There's no question about it. And so meat's bad, fat's bad, everything's bad. Just eat plants. And it just completely undermined and throughout, hundreds of years of medical knowledge and data. And they just say, nope, can't possibly be true. And so I think that now with the dissemination of information as free as it is over the internet and people understanding this, and you can sort of learn about it more, it's going to be a lot harder to hide it in the future. Right. Maybe they'll be able to, but I think that it's going to be much less likely. And so I agree with you. This is something that actually works. Yes. People, this is a grassroots movement. No one is pushing this top down like they have to with the plant-based garbage. Right. And the meat is bad, fat is bad. That's coming from governments. That's coming from all these people saying, oh, no, it's so horrible. It's like telling people, forcing people that they have to stay away from it, even though their natural instinct is like, yeah, but I like it. It's good. And you can say the same thing about candy and chocolate, but that's not real food. Yeah. That's confectionery. That's nonsense. It's designed to be chemically addictive and compulsive to eat. They have food scientists that work very hard to make things as addictive as possible. That is their job. Mm-hmm. There was a 60 Minutes interview with some of these people, and they were talking about how they wanted to have this big burst of flavor, and it goes away very quickly, so you have the next chip and the next bite and the next bar, so that you would eat more of the product, right? So they're intentionally making this compulsive and addictive. So if you're talking about real food, you don't get that same thing. So it's something that makes people feel good, feel better, feel healthy, and these diseases go away. And so once we get that out there and people understand and they see this, and they see their family members improving and losing weight and coming off medications and getting their life back together, then they want to do it. And then they see it, and they have these ripples of influence around them, and their friends and family start doing it, and they influence their friends and family. Yeah. And so that's where we're at now. We're sort of I think we're about to hit critical mass where this sort of gets a lot bigger, because there are so many people now that have healed from this and improved their health so much that you can't ignore it anymore. Yes. And so I think it's only going to get bigger from here.
While many are drawn to the carnivore diet to address health issues after exhausting traditional methods, what incentives exist for healthy individuals to adopt this diet? What benefits might motivate someone without medical concerns to consider the carnivore diet?
I didn't have any medical issues. I wasn't trying to reverse things. I wasn't in a state of desperation where I was like, oh my God, what can I do? I felt great. I didn't have any problems. And, if I worked hard and I pushed myself, I could still get into really good shape, and I could get really, lean and muscular and play rugby and things like that into my late 30s. And, so it was just a matter of if I was able to put in enough effort, I could do it. When I looked at this, it was simply because this is the way we're supposed to eat. This is the most biologically appropriate way to eat. This is the healthiest way to eat. These things are bad for us. Plants are not your friend. They are not trying to help you, win the Olympics. Like, they want to live. They want you to leave them the hell alone. They have defenses, and if you ignore that, you're playing with your own health. And so I saw that and I was just like, yeah, I don't want anything to do with that. It's not good for my body. I'm not going to eat it. And so I just stopped. And I didn't even realize how much better that I felt. And so when I talk to people, they say, well, I feel good. I don't have a problem. This is not for people with problems. This is for everyone to be optimal. This is for everyone to be as healthy as they can be. And, I talk to people like, well, I actually feel good. I don't have a problem. It's just like, you actually don't know how bad you feel.
Right.
Because they have no idea, because they've never seen the contrast. Unless you get rid of all this stuff out of your system, if you just drank alcohol every day or were on medications and you doped you up every day, that's just your normal life. No, I feel fine. I don't feel fine. I don't need to come off of that because I feel good. And then you come off of it and you're like, oh my God, this is what life could be like. It's a big difference. And so that's what I just encourage people is like, just give it a try. If you want to be as healthy as you can be, live as long as you can, as healthily as you can with the longest years and spans of good health.
Right.
This is what you want to do. And especially for younger people, because you only get one chance to develop. You're going to be taller and more neurologically developed, have a bigger brain and a stronger body than you would have otherwise. And somebody goes, well, I grew up well. Yeah, fine. But you didn't grow up as well as you could have. And, do you want that for your kids? Or do you want good enough for your kids? Or do you want the best for your kids? I want the best for my kids. Not, just give them everything. Let kids be kids. Like, that's like talking to a drug dealer. It's like, oh, they like sugar. They like drugs. So you should give it to them. Let kids be kids. You wouldn't be saying that with cigarettes. You wouldn't be saying that with alcohol. So why are we saying that with sugar? Sugar's a drug. It's not good for them. And you restrict other things from them. So why the hell wouldn't you restrict that? It doesn't make any sense not to. If you're in that age, then it's very exciting because you're going to be healthier than you ever would have been. Really, yeah. If you're playing sports, if you're in school, you're going to excel at things much more. Yep. And you're going to be a much better athlete. For professional athletes, or more and more professional athletes now that are coming to this and having insane results. And I work with them in my professional capacity as a doctor. I have professional athletes that come to me and say, like, okay, I want to transition, I want to try, I need some help, and get some blood work and things like that. And they do fantastically well, and their blood markers improve and their game improves. And so you have a certain amount of time to play professional sports, and so you want to maximize that, and you want to maximize your longevity as well and your durability. There are professional rugby players that play for the New Zealand All Blacks, one of the best teams ever, every single year. They're carnivore. Yeah. A lot of them are carnivore, actually. A lot of the All Blacks are carnivore. It's real hush-hush. Oh, wow. Because like Wheat-Bix is their main sponsor, so it's like all these cereal companies like sponsor them, so I have to sort of keep it hush. Wow. But I've actually spoken to some of them, and they were like, yeah, I do carnivore. And I was like, how long have you been doing that? It's like, yeah, like 8 years. And nice. They're in their 30s, and some of these guys are in their late 30s. The Frank brothers, they do keto carnivore sort of diets, and one of them is 38 years old, and he just got signed to another 3-year contract with the Crusaders, which is one of the top flight rugby teams in the world. So, this is for performance and longevity as an athlete. It just there's nothing that's going to beat it, and that just goes for everybody. Yeah. Like, it's just going to optimize your health. You're going to feel as good as you can for as long as you can. It opens up a lot of doors. For sure. You're just healthy as hell, and you're feeling strong and fit. You can just do more things, and you have more energy to do things as well. So it's huge advantage to everyone.
I also want to say thank you for spreading the word about carnivore, because it's people like you, and so many people tell me my favorite carnivore is Dr. Chaffee. I watch his videos every single day. They keep me inspired.
Well, I appreciate it, and it's just nice that people are learning about it and just getting healthy. And that's really the main thing, is just people just spreading the word and just understanding that you can be healthy. You don't need a whole bunch of drugs and pills. You don't have to be holding on some big multinational company or government to be healthy. Like, the natural state of humanity is health, and natural state of all life on earth is that of health, because we're all descendants of survivors. We all are born from people who were healthy, respectively. And so as a population, as a species, why would we be just the only sickly, horrible, overweight, obese, and metabolically unwell species normally? Why would that be normal? It doesn't make any sense. And so if you eat your biological design, your body will work the way it's supposed to work, and people are getting that. And that's the main thing, is just people be healthy. That's all we want.
I encourage and welcome all carnivores, new and old, who are looking for guidance or simply more like-minded friends to come join the Steak and Butter Gang. We really pride ourselves on being a safe, intimate space for all of you to mingle, learn, and support each other. For more details on how to join the Steak and Butter Gang and what is included when you're a member, feel free to go to the URL shown on the screen, sbgmeetup.com, or check out the links down below in the description box. Finally, before I wrap up, I wanted to shout out something that I have been incorporating every single day to protect my eyes from blue light. This has also been helping me a lot to unwind and go to bed early so that I can wake up nice and early. Wearing my blue blockers really helps my eyes from getting strained and dry after a long day of being in front of screens. So I really love the convenience and comfort of these glasses. These two are my favorite ones and the only ones that I wear every single day, and they're both from Bon Charge. This red one is maximum protection and the one that I highly recommend the most, and this yellow one is medium protection. I like to wear this maybe throughout the day. These red ones I put on anytime I'm in front of my laptop, whether it's editing, doing meetings, or using my phone. Bon Charge also has other incredible biohacking products on their website, like this infrared sauna blanket that I love. This blanket is great for anyone who wants to reduce soreness or inflammation after a workout or a long day of work. And it's for anyone who just wants the benefits of red light therapy just by lying down on a comfortable blanket. It wraps around you fully 360 degrees, and all you have to do is plug it in and choose your preferred settings. I'll usually spend about 15 to 20 minutes in this blanket while I'm taking breaks from work or meetings, and I definitely notice less puffiness in my body as well as lower stress throughout the day. So if you're interested in any of these biohacking tools, I will make sure to link all my favorites down below from Bon Charge in the description box. And you can use my discount code SBGAL for 15% off your order. Thank you so much for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one. SBG out.